Hello again. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, taking you into the garage area and talking to the folks that make the race cars go around the racetrack. We are so glad you have joined us. I'm Steve Post, pit road reporter for Motor Racing Network, joined by 25-time and championship-winning crew chief Todd Gordon. Hello, Todd. How are you?
I'm great. Come off a great weekend of racing at Richmond.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to Martinsville.
Yeah, good stuff. Good
yes.
stuff. We missed you for a strategy race at Richmond. We missed you up there, but I know it was Easter, and you like spending Easter with the family as well. So it was good.
And you had a winner up there in the box. With Rusty up there. I loved his enthusiasm. I got to listen to the broadcast. I want to start this off.
Oh, yeah.
How about the wet weather package?
Yeah, exactly.
How do we want to call it? The somebody said the sprinkle tires.
The sprinkle tires.
Yeah, and Brad Gilley, my co-host on the late shift, he says, I think we should just call them the tires and let's just race them all the time.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Yeah, although I'll say this, I like that idea, but Drew Blickensderfer would not have liked that idea about lap 32, because that right front was on, and I looked at a few others, but that's one that comes to mind. That was gone.
But we went back to Bristol, and we really loved the fact that guys had to manage tires. So here's another situation we've taken. To me, I think we've got too much footprint on the tires for short track racing.
Right.
I've said that right along. I feel like the wheel should be 3 to 4 inches narrower and take the footprint away. Goodyear doesn't like that as much, but you lose footprint when you've got tread on it. So I mean,
it was fascinating.
The show was phenomenal. They were 4 wide. Rusty called it, and I got home where I wasn't listening to it anymore, and I backed the program up. It was 3 and 4 wide. I thought a phenomenal first 30 laps, and what a great, kudos to NASCAR for having the foresight to bring this program forward. Can we go farther with it? Yes, we can. There's been all sorts of debate of should we have gone, why can't we go farther? Why can't the teams control whether they put them on or not? This was the first step, and I think a very successful step, of racing on these in a points-paying cup race. Yeah. So I kudos to that. Put on a great show, and we got to race. We'd have been another hour drying that racetrack, trying to get it ready for slicks. And that hour was probably the most entertaining hour of racing that we saw out of Richmond.
You have primetime TV at home and fans that have been sitting at the racetrack all day long. And we had racing on the racetrack and compelling racing on the racetrack.
Really good racing.
Really good racing on the racetrack. And a lot of mystery. I think as we work through this, we'll figure out the protocols to get pit road. Maybe pit road needs to be ahead of the racetrack. We always did the racetrack and then pit road. Maybe we need to look at drying pit road, then the racetrack, so we can do live pit stops. Yeah. Because I had a good visit that morning with Elton Sawyer from NASCAR, and the goal is to put this in the team's hands.
Yes, and I think Elton was on the morning drive on Sirius on his typical Tuesday morning call. And he talked a little bit about getting pit road. We don't need to have competitive pit stops right now. Without pit road being dry, it's dangerous. Right. For the pit crew guys, for somebody jumps out there and slips. But yes, he talked about getting pit road dry, getting in a different position. Hey, even if we roll the cars off pit road and we send every bit of the track drying equipment down pit road, and we run, say, instead of running 5 pace laps, we run 12 pace laps to give them 6 more, give them another 15 minutes to get that pit road dry. Then maybe we can come back to competitive pit stops. But
still,
this was an A+ for a first effort on putting this program together. I love the fact that we went to slicks on a racetrack that only had about a groove and a half dry. Let these guys earn their money.
And we go to slicks, and I'm like, watch everyone tiptoe around, and Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson proceed to run side by side for the lap. And you're just waiting. I'm down in turn number 1, and I'm just, the first time they come down there, I'm like, okay, someone's going to tuck in behind somebody else. And they didn't.
Nope.
And I'm like, oh boy, when you come in there the next time in full song, I'm like, hang on, here we go. And then they keep going, and they keep going, and I'm like, oh my God, this is phenomenal. So great effort, great stuff.
I thought overall that transition of coming out of a little rain, it was still sprinkling. Mike Bagley called it, was still the backstretch, was still having a little bit of a miss, but In the first lap, we saw a little bit of spray come up in the backstretch, not anything that I think was overwhelming. And kudos to everybody. I thought a very entertaining, a very action-packed, I thought probably the best 30 laps of the race was that piece. So a win for how we can work forward and how we can keep races moving forward and something that NASCAR can build off of.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And keeping the race moving forward is the goal. Keeping things progressing and going forward. All right. So we go through all of this, the strategy, the no strategy, the cautions, everything like this. And it's been something that has frustrated me all week. We have talked about every facet of this race, of the end of this race, of this, that, and the other thing. And there's one group of gentlemen that have not been discussed nearly as much as I think they should. A.J. Rossini, Devin Yowker, Joel Bauman, Dylan Dowell, and Kenneth Purcell. An 8.99 second money stop. Now, of course, that 8.99 is what the stats are. You've broken it down for them. They won the money stop, and it doesn't matter if it's 8.99 or 14.2. They won the money stop.
Depending on where you want to put it, yeah. But it was a. I can say this: it was over a second faster. They came down pit road third,
right?
And really, they'd run forward, had good speed pace. They got to Joey, and really Joey kind of took off at that point trying to chase down Martin, and they kind of settled in. They were going to run third. Came down pit road. They were that pit stop for those guys. And Steve Letarte and I broke this down on NASCAR Inside the Race. We did. So one of us actually gave a little bit of love to it. It was 1.1 to 1.3 seconds faster than the two cars that they were trying to get in front of.
Cow.
And that's just, and it's amazing where you can find a tenth, 0.2, 0.3 of a second. It's not all like, it's not blaring. When you watch the stops, they don't. The 19 and the 22, they don't look exceptional, but they don't look that far off.
No.
But a really, really good stop by the 11 crew, and that earned them the opportunity to control the race. Right. And it's been talking point all week. I'm sick of it.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with what happened at the end of the race.
Yeah,
I'm watching NCAA basketball. I don't want the referee involved in the last 5 seconds of the game either, unless it's blatant.
Right.
And in this case, I feel like if you look at, did Denny leave early? Yes, he did. Is there a line? Is there a black and white that we could make that call? Yes. But I feel like Denny left early because the row behind him laid back. Right. So we have thrown penalties. We've had pass-through penalties in the last year in the Xfinity Series. I think AJ got it at one point. I think maybe I don't know who. There's been a couple of them for laying back on a restart. You're not allowed to do that, but that's part of the gamesmanship. I don't think anybody did anything that's out of bounds here. No different than, I like Chris Rice made the comment on Sirius in the Morning Wednesday. It's no different than running 7 mile an hour over the speed limit.
Right.
We all do it because we think we can get away with it.
Yeah.
You know, it's we don't all, if the speed limit's 55, we don't all run 54.
No. That's
so you take what you feel like you can to keep yourself in a good position. I think the leader that pit crew earned Denny the opportunity to control a restart. He should not be at a disadvantage. And with those two cars rolling up behind him, he was going to be at a disadvantage, so he left.
Yeah. They were going to have a little bit more speed when you get to that that restart box.
And that speed runs all the way until you lift off the throttle.
Right,
if it's 1 mile an hour, it's a mile an hour all the way into turn one.
Turn number one, when the 22 ducks on a line and gets a run down the inside of you.
I work with that guy.
Yeah, he's good.
He's really good. Yeah, I don't think he did anything wrong.
No.
But it's just, I think it's a great no call, in my opinion. And I know people disagree with me. I've been blown up on Twitter over that. But I think this was a good race. I know Martin didn't like it, but Martin didn't like a lot of things. He didn't like the fact that he had the race won, the caution came out.
Yeah, nobody's going to like that.
He didn't like the fact that he lost the lead to Denny. And he didn't like the way that Denny left early, and didn't like the way that Denny raced him off at 2, which I think those are all things to be frustrated about.
Absolutely.
But I also think if I'm Chris Gaypart, I want my driver to do everything he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love the controversy. We can all debate it. But
gosh, it's great. Yeah. I think if you want a really good breakdown of what the lead driver is going through in that scenario, Denny's
actions detrimental.
And it's even, and you don't even listen to the whole thing. There's a clip out there on social media of just him describing, it's 2 or 3 minute clip of him describing, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm looking out my window, I'm looking at the mirror, I'm looking at the line, I'm looking out the window. And it's like, this is a whole lot more detailed than front bumper at that line.
You don't.
There's a lot going on.
The decision of, at the cup level especially.
Yes.
The decision of where you go as a leader is not about the restart box.
No.
It is, you are paying, and this is, and I work with Joey Logano.
Yeah.
If you look back through the mid-teens,
oh gosh,
we were phenomenal.
Yes.
We had worked on a lot of things to make our car good, but Joey was really, the thing that I thought made him so,
a student of this.
He is, and he was so intellectual about where does he think I'm going to go and where can I beat him because he's thinking that. And that goes to, as a leader, it goes to second, third, and fourth.
Right.
It's the front two rows. So there's, you're working on and paying attention to three other cars as you're approaching that zone. The zone's probably the fourth thing you're looking at.
Yeah.
Did he leave early? I'm not going to argue that. Yes, he did. In ways, is this a black and white? And I mean, I just think there's more to it than the average fan looks at as to what penalties you would have to throw. And I don't want my final green-white checker to be dictated by the tower, unless it's something blatant.
Right. There's a fascinating group of people who kind of tend to agree with you, and those are the guys that sit in those seats, the drivers. And I'm not always huge on drivers making rules and everything, but talking to driver after driver this week, they're like, no, I understand what was going on there, and I'd have done the same darn thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, to a man. So it's just fascinating. It really, truly is. And again, that has been the big talking point. It really has. You mentioned Joey Logano, Paul Wolf, second place finish. We had talked a little bit about what's going on over there. Boy, they found their footing, and they found their footing in a big way.
And Paul talked about the fact that they did the tire test at North Wilkesboro,
right? And
thought that actually netted some positive for him. I watched that, heard that someplace, but definitely they got back on track for where they should be and where they want to be going forward. Love the fact that Joey hops out mad about finishing second, but because that's just the passion that they've got. That. But a good run for those guys coming to a racetrack in Martinsville that
they're gonna be tough.
He runs pretty good there too.
They're gonna be tough also. Chase Elliott, Alan Gustafson, it's been 16 races since they had a top 5 finish. Got to be a good relief to get a top 5 finish there as well for those guys.
And ran up there most of the day. I mean, top 10 most of the day, and really kind of put it together. This is part of the program. They're building back. They took a month and a half off.
Yes.
I don't.
Season, yep. It's bad.
It's just. In this car, it takes time to kind of catch back up. We've heard several crew chiefs that got put into positions that I've spotted them a year. I think talk to Blake.
Blake Harrison. The same thing with Alex.
Yeah,
you lose this. It's so tough to come back.
It's so the things you work on are so small.
Right.
That when you give up people getting that opportunity to refine that even more, you've got to play catch up. And I think a good building block for the 9 team and Alan and Chase.
A couple notables. Stuart Haas Racing had a pair of cars in the top 12. Josh Berry and Rodney Childers. We're going to talk to Rod today here on the program. And Noah Gregson and Drew Blickensderfer saw a lot of speed out of Josh specifically. A lot of speed out of Josh.
I thought one of the best cars.
Yes, absolutely. There's some signs, some good stuff there at Stuart Haas. And we're going to talk to Rodney about that. I think that's really fascinating to watch their progress. And that's building back also.
Yeah.
For 10 years, you have the same guy. And here you are coming in with a new guy.
And I mean, it's been noted that Stuart Haas has had it off a couple of years. Yeah. So they're building back from challenges of, I don't know that they really got a great handle on this next gen car. Gen 7 car, I guess is what we call it now. And it's been a struggle for them. And it's a different philosophy than what they did through the Gen 6 car. So feel like all the work that they were doing in the off season, I think we're starting to see some of that come back.
I think we are as well. Other winners this weekend, NASCAR Xfinity Series. It was Chandler Smith picking up the win with Joe Gibbs Racing. Chandler, second win this season, third of his career. Appears to me that move to Joe Gibbs Racing is working out just fine for young Mr. Smith.
Leading the points? Not a bad place to be. He's doing a great job.
Jeff Mendering, the crew chief on it. 10th career win as a crew chief in the series. Drivers, Cole Custer, Brandon Jones, Sammy Smith, and Chandler Smith. So he's won with 4 different drivers. I got to throw this little side note in about Jeff. He's my buddy. I actually got to know Jeff when he was racing super late models out at Concord Speedway.
Okay.
When I first came down here, I was doing some TV out there, so I got to know him. And you get to know the family. The family runs a hardware store in Concord. an Ace Hardware store in Concord, and Jeff's son, Nate, picked up the Wing Micro Win the last time out at Millbridge Speedway. It was right after Phoenix. I said, man, well, Jeff Mendering is spending a lot of time in Victory Lane, won at Phoenix, and then his kids. So Jeff Mendering is just one of the really good guys, and I love to see success for good guys like that. And they've got that Xfinity Series program figured out with Chandler and Jeff. That's a pretty good combination.
Yeah, sure is.
Really good stuff. That is for sure. If you like what we're doing here on Crew Call, do us a favor. Share this, put it on your social media channels, subscribe to our channel on MRN here on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this, and make sure that you check us out each and every time. We're going to step away. When we come back, Rodney Childers from over at Stewart Haas Racing. He joins us next. Welcome back. It is Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network. Todd Gordon and Steve Poston. Let's go right straight to it. The Zoom line joining us from over at Stewart Haas Racing after that 11th place finish up at Richmond with his driver, Josh Berry. Rodney Childers joins us. Hello, Rodney. How are you?
I'm doing good. How about y'all?
We're doing well. Rodney, 11th place finish and probably had a little bit better car than that. Just kind of assess how things went for you Sunday night there at Richmond and just how the race played out for you.
Yeah, we felt like we had a great car from the time we unloaded. Practice went really, really well. And, we didn't have a good qualifying effort just from having to go out real early. But overall, Josh didn't get down about that. He had a ton of confidence going into the race. And honestly, the rain didn't faze him at all. Putting the rain tires on and all. He had a ton of confidence to start the race. And he was ready to go, and it was awesome to see him be able to drive through the field like that and have a good car. To sit there and run second to Martin at Richmond is a huge deal. Our team has continued to grow all year, and obviously we had a good run at Bristol and some other places, but we kind of just needed to do that one more time, I think, and we didn't end up finishing where we should have. I thought we probably had a second place car and should have been able to finish there, but we had a couple bad stops. One of them our fault, one of them wasn't our fault. But it's overall it was a great run and everybody did a really good job.
It's the one that wasn't a pit crew fault. That I think he missed coming pit road, didn't he? I think I heard that call or something there, or in the green flag cycle. That's just part of new guy and a new car, right?
Yeah, Richmond's so hard, as you know, Todd. I mean, it's so hard to get inside that orange box, and it's so easy to get a penalty also. And we were leading the race there a few years back and had everybody destroyed, and Kevin ran over the orange box and had to do a drive-through and lost the race. So every pit cycle, we were kind of screaming on the radio about the orange box, and he did a good job, honestly. He had cranked the brakes to the front that run, and he ended up sliding the front tires, and instead of waiting until the last second to go back on the racetrack, he kind of pulled the plug, real early in the brake cycle. And, when he was sliding the tires, he just decided to go around one more time. So it didn't kill us as bad as it could have, but it was a lot better than getting the penalty and running over that box.
So that was, I think, 335. It was the second green flag cycle, I think, in the cycle. Actually, I looked at lap times. Might have cost you a second. Maybe it was a little bit more than that, but really at that point with where race positions had gotten to, really he didn't lose a lot of positions out of that, right?
Yeah, he really didn't. It had kind of strung out. I think the bad part was we had just ran down a bunch of guys. We were getting ready to pass the 17, the 6, and I think the 9. We had run them down from a straightaway, and we had just got to them, and then we tried to pit to get the tires on it maybe before some of those guys did, and we ended up missing it by a lap, and then we came out straightaway behind them again. So we had to make that straightaway up again, and then it just, it became hard because you know how hard it is to pass once they kind of get strung out, and so we made a straightaway up twice, and we needed to come out right there with them and then get by those three and start working on the guys in front of them.
Rodney, when you mention that, I love your short track lingo. We run them down by a straightaway. There's no secret that the last couple of years at Stewart Haas Racing, you've had some good moments and you've had some struggles. It's got to be fun as a crew chief maybe not getting the result you wanted, but having the car, having the driver, having everything in place so you can run people down by a straightaway. This has got to be really neat for you sitting on the putt box and watching something like you had on Sunday night. Even though you didn't get the result, it's got to be real encouraging to you, I would think.
Yeah, it really has. And, I think the thing that stands out the most to me is I know how good a job Josh has done all year. Because I get to see it every single day and how hard he works and how hard he studies and everything that he does. And then I get to see, his weekends too. And a lot of people just see the results and, see whether we got in a wreck or whatever. And he has done an outstanding job. He really has. And it's been awesome to see because you think about some of the places that we've been to and you wonder where are we going to struggle at? And, we went to Atlanta and I thought we had one of the best cars there and would have had a shot of maybe winning the race there at the end. Suarez ended up winning it and we were the car that kept pushing him on the bottom to get him to the front. So, we had a really good car there, and then we showed up at Vegas and in qualifying, he run it wide open through 1 and 2. And as Todd knows, I mean, getting a rookie guy to go out there and hold it wide open in qualifying is hard.
Yeah, and
it takes the right person to do that. So we've had some strong runs. Obviously, qualifying on the front row at Bristol was cool. And if we would have been in Group B at Richmond, we would have qualified up there too. It's just extremely hard at Richmond when you go out early, but. He's done an outstanding job, and I hope that everybody else can start seeing that effort and seeing what he's doing behind the wheel. And I think the other side of it is I think a lot of the drivers have figured out, too, that he's not going to put up with much either. He's going to drive the wheels off of it and try to get it to the front.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I talked to Cheddar, your car chief at Phoenix even, and I think it was you were kind of sneaky good there. And one that people didn't notice, but I watched it during the race. I felt like there were times that you had decent pace there, just trying to put everything together and put the whole race together. I want to talk a little globally. A lot of conversation in the offseason about Stewart-Haas and not being where you want to be the last couple of years, really since the next gen cars come together as an organization. Your teammates really have kind of elevated. We've watched. I feel like I've seen opportunity out of your program at multiple racetracks. We've had, Noah Gregson's had some good runs. I think Chase Briscoe's, had some really good runs. You guys have had good runs. Your assessment on where the work in the offseason has come forward?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just, rebranding and doing everything different. As you've seen at the racetrack, our stuff looks good, number one, and when you walk by the trailers, that's where you got to start, right? I mean, you got to have people notice you when you walk by. Your equipment needs to look good. Your trailers need to look good. And we just kind of started over. We started there, and then we've just kind of had an open mind on the car. And obviously Ford got a new body this year, and it seems to be a little bit better to me. And the guys at the engine shop are working hard, and and then the other side of it is just, some of these new drivers have kind of opened us up to going to the simulator and coming up with different setups than what we've had the last couple of years. And, like you said, we've had some speed. Phoenix was one of those that was a little disappointing. We felt like we were really fast in practice and ended up messing it up a little bit in qualifying. But overall, that 10 car unloaded off the truck at Vegas, and in his group he went straight to P1 in practice, and we've never done that on an intermediate track in 2 years, right? So to be able to continue to learn every single week, the communication with all the crew chiefs, the drivers, having Johnny Klausmeyer step up, and then having Bugha step up. I mean, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't see, and everybody's just working really hard to try to get better and to try to win races.
You've talked about Josh and just how hard he works at it. Josh has had success at Martinsville in different series. Does that carry forward for you? Or and I guess the other piece is, how much do you lean on the notebook? I look back to last fall, Amarola finished second at Martinsville, and Chase Briscoe, I don't think, has finished outside the top 10 in a next-gen car there. How does that whole coordination work?
Yeah, last year was a good year for us. In the spring race, all 4 of us qualified in the top 7. At one point, we were 4 out of the top 5 in the race. The 4 car led the race for a while and won the stage. So, all of that means something, right? And, Amarola was always good there. That was kind of one of his best racetracks.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I felt like our car was just as good as his in the fall, and it was really a crew chief problem more than it was a car problem. I ended up putting 4 tires on that last one and took us out of the picture, and and we cut pass after that. So, it really comes down to me making the right calls and keeping him up front. And like you said, he's got a lot of experience there. When he won the 300 there, he sat on the pole and led every lap of it. So, he's really good at those short tracks, and he just understands how to race. And that's where some of these guys kind of miss out a little bit. They can go fast, but they don't know how to race, and that's what he's got going for him, is he knows how to race and knows how to get the most out of things. And hopefully we can go up there and have a good weekend.
Rodney, when we look at this weekend specifically, obviously one of the hot topics going back to Bristol, going to Richmond is tires, track temperature, those type of things. Specifically this weekend, I think it's going to be a little cooler on Sunday. What's your hunch? What's your thought process? What do you think we might see up there in the 400 laps on Sunday afternoon?
I mean, it really just depends on what the tire ends up being like. We struggled there for a few races, and then we had that open test or organizational test or whatever it was in the fall of 22. And I just remember it being 90 degrees when we were up there, and it caked up with rubber so thick that it was crazy. I still have pictures on my phone of taking pictures of the track before I walked out that day. And since then, it's just kind of rubbered up. And when it rubbers up like that, it doesn't wear the tires. And then, of course, that's why you have guys put 2 tires on or staying out. And I think it'd be much the same. If it's not, it'll surprise me. We'll just have to kind of see what it looks like in practice. And I mean, it's supposed to be cooler, but that's not cold for Martinsville, right? I mean, we've been there with 37 degrees, and
we did an April night race.
Oh God, I remember having 8 layers of clothes on, and my engineer could not even talk on his radio because he was so cold. But we'll just have to see what it's like. 60 degrees is going to be a nice sunny day at Martinsville, and should be an awesome race.
You talked about, and I want to get you to kind of embellish a little bit on this, but you talked about it caking rubber up. It physically, if you're out there, when the track takes rubber like it did last fall, it gets to a point that like there is a layer of rubber that almost starts to peel up and roll up on a racetrack, and you've got to figure out how to race around that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a little jar of slime that your kids play with, and like you said, once that stuff starts rolling, it just feels like the tires aren't really connected to the racetrack. And then you'll see somebody like Denny Hamlin, he'll start straddling that rubber and coming back across it. And a lot of guys just understand that stuff. And, the last, I guess couple races, the leader, he'll be way faster than everybody and catch the back of the pack, and he can't even pass the cars that he's supposed to be lapping. So, it's hard to say exactly what it's going to be like. I would think that it's going to be much the same, but we'll just have to see how that plays out.
Hey, you talked earlier, just really kind words about Josh and really seeing his work ethic. You and Kevin had a really special relationship. I got to watch it firsthand, chasing you down all the time. Seemed like you were always in that number 1 pit stall. We tried to get there. But you guys just were on the same page. It seems like you and Josh are building that relationship. What do you do to build that relationship? How did the off season go? What things have you done to kind of get yourselves together?
Yeah, and honestly, it has taken a little bit of time. We did do some late model racing over the winter. We went to 3 late model shows, and we had a ton of fun doing that. We sat on the front row every single week and had a shot at winning every single week. And I definitely think that helped, but we still weren't where we needed to be when we got done with those late model shows. And in racing this year, I feel like it has just got better and better and better. he can be a little quiet and I can be a little quiet. And I think that he believes in me and I believe in him. It was really on me to who was going to drive the 4-car. And I wanted somebody that I believed in and have believed in for quite a few years. And, I think that he can do it. And I keep telling people he's not going to fail on my watch. And I'm going to do whatever I can do to make sure that happens. And he knows that. And I know that he's going to give 100% every time he goes out there.
Man, I'll tell you, I love the combination, and I can't wait to see what happens at Martinsville. Can't wait to see what happens as we go forward as well, because I think good things in the future. Rodney, we always appreciate your time, your insight, whether it's here on Crew Call or leaning up against a stack of good years and chatting in the garage area. Thanks for your time. Thanks for joining us this time on Crew Call, and we'll see you up in Martinsville.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
There we go. That's Rodney Childers, crew chief of the number 4 Ford Mustang Dark Horse at Stewart Haas Racing. Stay with us. More Crew Call in just a moment. Crew Call here on the Motor Racing Network, wrapping it up. Rodney Childers, man, I'll tell you what insight. And I referenced it there at the end. He's not only one of the guys we go to on Crew Call, but if I have 10 minutes in the garage and I can get one crew chief, he's going to be the one crew chief I'm going to grab, because he's generally a good person, first off, and he generally has really good insight on the sport.
Love it. And he's one that I respect and actually call a friend. I mean, we race side by side. Our teams, I felt like our teams between Rodney's and mine got along better than our teammates did. But, just respect for each other. He's a great leader. They got a great team, and Josh, he believes in Josh. He's pushing Josh. We're seeing that come out in this program. Really impressive.
He's not going to fail on my watch, man. That got me a little bit. I'm a Josh Berry late model stock guy. I love it. And when Rodney said that, I'm like, man, that's rich right there.
And as soft spoken, as kind of laid back as he sounds,
that's bold right there.
Rodney's he's pretty dedicated. His persona outside and the work ethic inside. Two different things. The guy he's a winner. We will see how they perform this weekend. It's a busy weekend up at Martinsville Speedway. Kicks off on Friday night, 7:00 Eastern Time. The Long John Silver's 200 for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Maybe they'll give you some of those $6 fish bowls or something like that we can get to go along with that. Saturday, we've got doubleheader coverage, 4:30 in the afternoon, practice and qualifying for the NASCAR Cup Series. The Dude Wipes 250 at 7:00 is for the NASCAR Xfinity Series on Saturday night, and on Sunday, the Cookout 400 for the NASCAR Cup Series. Motor Racing Network airtime is 2 p.m. Eastern Time, so it is going to be great. Before we get out of here, also, the NASCAR Podcast Series, the MRN Podcast Series, Chasing History, NASCAR Live, Chasing History 2004. The next episode dropped this past Monday, and it was a good one, that is for sure. So check that out where your podcasts are. Todd, can't wait. You're going to join us up in Martinsville. It's going to be a fun weekend up there at the Paperclip. Yeah, I can't wait to get there. Practice and qualifying on Saturday for me. Cole Custer going to be in the booth on Friday night. I think that's great for the truck race, and looking forward to the Xfinity race Saturday night and the Cup race on Sunday. Absolutely. We have the General joining us on Friday night. It is good stuff. He's Todd Gordon. I'm Steve Post. Thank you for joining us here, this time on Crew Call on the Motor Racing Network.